Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Ducati's Gigi Dall'Igna struck a steady, managerial tone after a turbulent weekend for Pecco Bagnaia at the Red Bull Ring. While he celebrated Marc Márquez's win and hailed the rookie Fermín Aldeguer's performance, Dall'Igna was frank that Bagnaia's race fell below expectations and that the factory must act, technically and psychologically, to get the two-time champion back to the front. His message: don't panic, diagnose fast, and support the rider. Casey Stoner offered a clear read on the Marcel Márquez effect at Spielberg. The reigning title leader isn't just dominating, he's creating a problem everyone else has to solve. Stoner believes that while Francesco Bagnaia is suffering in 2025, being in the same garage as Marquez could ultimately be an advantage. The short-term pain of being outpaced may become long-term gain if Bagnaia extracts lessons from the champion's pace and approach. Pecco Bagnaia's weekend at the Red Bull Ring crystallized a season-long worry, results slipping while questions mount. The two-time champion limped home 8th in Austria, some 12 seconds off the winner, and the cold numbers only sharpened the tone of his frustration. Publicly blunt, Bagnaia admits his patience is quite a lot tested as he and Ducati search for why a package that once made him dominant is now leaving him behind. Marc Márquez left Spielberg with another trophy, and a rare, reflective warning. The Ducati rider extended an iron grip on 2025 with his 6th straight Grand Prix victory, pushing his championship lead into triple digits. But amid the celebration, he flagged an unexpected personal challenge: learning to accept the races when he's not the outright fastest. It's a champion's humility, and a sign he's thinking long-term even while dominating the present. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Dall'Igna started by acknowledging the positives. Marquez's pace underlines the bike's potential, and Aldeguer's composed rookie performance showed genuine quality. He pointed out Spielberg's particular demands, especially tire temperature management, where small differences can shift the order. He noted Marc's victory and Fermín's impressive, mistake-free ride, stressing both as indicators of the package's capabilities. Celebrating clear wins helps keep perspective, even while other problems demand attention. Dall'Igna admitted Bagnaia had a strong set of practice sessions but that the sprint and GP unfolded poorly. That sequence turned what looked like a productive weekend into a missed chance to regain momentum. Every race that passes is a missed opportunity to improve. His race was definitely below expectations. The blunt assessment signals Ducati sees this as more than one bad lap. It's a loss of opportunity that needs reversing. Rather than pin the problem entirely on hardware, Dall'Igna emphasized complexity. Riding a GP bike involves many interacting factors, and sometimes a rider's confidence can amplify technical issues into a downward spiral. He singled out front tire temperature at Spielberg as one of the circuit-specific challenges. It's always a combination of things. There's certainly a mental aspect to it too. When you start going downhill, everything goes wrong. Accepting a dual technical psychological diagnosis is useful. It broadens the remedy set beyond just setup tweaks. Dall'Igna was clear about responsibility. Ducati must help Bagnaia through the slump. That means engineering work, setup analysis, and crucially, restoring rider confidence through collaborative problem-solving rather than shifting blame. We simply have to help each other achieve this goal. We shouldn't give up and try to achieve this objective. When leadership publicly promises support, it can stabilize a rider, but only if follow-up actions match the words. Dall'Igna struck a balance. Remain optimistic about the bike's baseline but act urgently to analyze what went wrong in the sprint and the race. He urged positivity while admitting the team must dig into telemetry, tire data and setup to arrest the slide. He stressed staying positive and learning from the weekend's good practice sessions even as they investigate the failures. Optimism buys time. Analysis and clear fixes earn results. Gigi Dall'Igna's response was pragmatic. Celebrate the wins, but don't ignore the alarms. By naming both technical and mental dimensions, Ducati has widened the field of action, which is good news for Bagnaia, provided the factory follows words with rapid, concrete steps. The next rounds will show whether Ducati's support and analysis can turn a worrying skid into a short-lived wobble. With 9 wins from 13 Grands Prix and a streak of 12 consecutive victories including sprints, Marc Márquez has set a punishing standard. Stoner says this dominance changes the paddock dynamics. Opponents are not just chasing Bagnaia or others, they're all chasing what Marquez has found in the Ducati. Right now, I think Marquez is creating the same problem for everybody in the paddock. When one rider exposes a new setup or riding sweet spot, it forces an industry-wide scramble. That's exactly the challenge teams now face. Bagnaia's drop in form is stark on the numbers. His results this year and his fade to 8th at the Red Bull Ring show a rider not yet matching the factory's internal benchmark. But Stoner cautions against reading weakness into temporary setbacks. Instead, he frames it as a learning moment catalyzed by an exceptional teammate. He suggested it's difficult to attack Bagnaia's position in the pecking order when everyone else is also struggling to match Marquez's newly found pace. The nuance matters. Bagnaia may be off the top step now, but the environment around him has shifted dramatically. Stoner argues that having Marquez in the same garage is educational medicine for Bagnaia. Observing a teammate who's extracting extra performance can reveal subtle setup choices, riding lines, and mental approaches that aren't obvious on the surface. Those insights, taken during tough times, can be the seed of a comeback. I think it's also a benefit for Pecco to be in the same garage as Marc, to learn from him this year. Champions teach even when they defeat you. The trick is translating observation into technical and personal change. Stoner emphasized that riders often learn most in their worst moments. Friction breeds adaptation. Whether it's tweaks to body position, braking approach, throttle delivery, or psychological resilience, the data Bagnaia can harvest this year may become the platform for future gains. You learn always in your worst moments, and I think this can be really beneficial for Pecco to take as much information as he can, and then use this for the next year. This is a long game perspective. Immediate results may be lacking, but the learning curve can yield durable improvements. Stoner's closing message was practical and encouraging. Keep working, keep trying. The implication is that persistence, allied to smart telemetry analysis and open communication inside the team, can unearth the marginal gains needed to close the gap. But as long as you keep trying, as long as you keep working, you can find something. MotoGP is often decided by relentless iteration. Stoner reminds us that process beats panic. Casey Stoner's assessment is both diagnosis and reassurance. Marc Márquez's dominance presents a unique, uncomfortable problem for the whole paddock, and Bagnaia is currently on the uncomfortable side of that equation. Yet Stoner sees the silver lining. The proximity to greatness is a rare learning opportunity. If Bagnaia and Ducati transform frustration into focused development, the short-term embarrassment could turn into the seed of a stronger, smarter championship challenge next year. The statistics tell a stark story. Bagnaia's once commanding status has been eroded, with the article noting he sits 197 points adrift of teammate Marc Márquez, a gap that underlines how one rider's dominance can distort a season. Austria was supposed to be a reset. Instead, it became another data point in a worrying trend. When figures begin to outpace explanations, internal pressure follows public scrutiny, and Bagnaia's numbers are now being discussed as loudly as his pace. Bagnaia did not mince words in interviews. He said he's fighting, giving it everything, yet still finished 8th, and admitted he is running out of patience. The repeated refrain is simple. He doesn't understand why the results aren't coming. They have said nothing for now. I'm waiting. I'm fighting, giving it everything, even giving it everything. I finished 8th, 12 seconds behind. That blend of effort and opacity, doing everything but receiving no clear answers, is a combustible mix for any champion. Bagnaia pointed to concrete deficits. Rivals Marco Bezzecchi and Marc Márquez were executing braking, corner entry and exits better from lap 1. It wasn't a mystery of motivation. It was a measurable shortfall in the race phases that win Grands Prix. I saw at the start of the race they were doing, Bez and Marc, everything better than me, the braking, corner entries, exits. When the gap shows up in fundamentals, the cure is rarely cosmetic. It demands technical sleuthing and honest feedback loops between rider and engineers. The public admission that he's losing patience is also a call to arms. Bagnaia is waiting for Ducati to explain and to act. Silence from the garage only amplifies unease. For a rider used to being part of the podium conversation, 8th place is not just lost points, it's credibility on the line. Teams must translate concern into investigation, telemetry, tire analysis, setup audits. The quicker the diagnosis, the better the chance of stopping a slide. The pressure on Bagnaia, and on Ducati, will grow if explanations don't follow. He insists he won't stop fighting. The team insists they'll work on solutions. The practical test will be whether the next rounds bring clarity, numerical improvement, and a return to those race phases where he's currently being outpaced. This is a pivotal moment. Solve the root cause and it's a blip. Failed to explain it, and the season's narrative risks being rewritten. Pecco Bagnaia's Austria weekend converted frustration into a public demand for answers. With clear performance gaps and a headline-making points deficit to his teammate, the onus is now on Ducati to respond swiftly and transparently. For Bagnaia, patience is wearing thin, but so is tolerance for unexplained decline. If the factory can pinpoint the problem, the champion can get back to doing what he's best at, fighting at the front. Marquez's run this year reads like a highlight reel. 9 Grand Prix wins so far, 6 consecutive GP victories, and an unbeaten streak in both full-distance races and sprints stretching back to May. That form has translated into a 142-point cushion in the championship, a gap that already narrows the title race into a one-rider story. When a rider posts that kind of consistency, opponents must either find step changes or accept a season increasingly shaped around one dominant figure. Rather than merely basking in dominance, Marquez warned of a psychological hurdle ahead, the difficulty of accepting weekends where he isn't the quickest. With expectations rising, from paddock whispers to fan forecasts, the emotional load of "you must win" can become its own handicap. This will be the problem, understanding and accepting when some Saturdays or Sundays I will not be the fastest out there. People expect I will win everything. It's unusually candid from a man in full flight. Champions often prepare physically, but Marquez is rehearsing mentally for the day fortune and competition slip by. Marquez tempered talk of invincibility with realism. MotoGP's variables, tires, track evolution, weather and circuit idiosyncrasies, mean streaks end. That pragmatic view keeps him grounded and prevents the hubris that can follow prolonged success. He singled out the need to be realistic about future races. Planning for imperfection is smart leadership. It preserves perspective for both rider and team when streaks inevitably wane. Marquez has a short list of circuits yet to yield him a MotoGP win. The new Balaton Park, Mandalika and Portimao. He singled out Balaton as promising, but acknowledged each circuit brings different challenges that could test his run. At the moment we are enjoying it. Balaton, I think, will be another good track for me. New or tricky venues are exactly where momentum can be checked, and where rivals can exploit unfamiliarity or set up weaknesses. Marquez's dominance does more than win races. It redefines the reference for setup, braking and tire use across the paddock. Teams and riders will chase what he's found on the Ducati, producing a technical ripple effect that shapes development trajectories for the rest of 2025 and beyond. Being the benchmark is double-edged. It brings respect, and paints a larger target on your back as others iterate toward your standard. Marc Márquez's Spielberg weekend was both a demonstration of supremacy and a study in self-awareness. He's enjoying a rare peak, but already prepping mentally for the day defeat arrives, an admission that may be as valuable as any trophy. If he can marry relentless performance with emotional equilibrium, he won't just collect wins. He'll sustain a legacy that survives the inevitable ebb as well as the flow. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!